I'm running for basically principles that I believe in that will lead our state to a better future. And I think that in supporting the business community is very important to me, as jobs are a big issue this election process.
So, kind of in a couple of sentences, how would you say that you'll represent the residents of the 21st District?
Well, as you might, in the thought process of dealing with politics, each district is different. And the 21st is a little more conservative district than around the city limits of Columbia. And when I was in the Senate, I represented a district clear from Mexico, Missouri, clear to Iowa and Illinois. So it was a very rural area, and I cherish those values. And I think that I will represent the 21st with values that support the agriculture community, support education. I'm very interested in the university because as a state senator, I represented Truman University. There wasn't necessarily animosity between the universities, but it's a much different scenario representing Truman than it is the University of Missouri, because the University of Missouri is the premier school in our state as far as higher education.
Well, we could talk about higher ed and funding. And let me, how would you look at supporting higher education and funding higher education?
Well, I'm not for any tax increases at this time. I think we need to get back to a solid base in our state where we can build from and get through this economic time. I think that money will come from the job sector. And one of the big things I'm working on right now is that we as a people need to understand that we need to buy products made in the United States of America. If we don't buy anything made in our own country, there are not going to be any jobs here. It's that simple. So I think we need to have, as a community, have a reflection on what we're buying, where it's made, and are we really supporting our country?
And how would that translate over to higher ed then?
Okay. Well, I think that if the people are not in favor of any tax increases at the moment, we need to rebuild our infrastructure and rebuild our base in our state and in our nation. Therefore, we will have more revenue from taxes coming in. I know that the university was asked not to raise tuition. I know that from what I've heard about what the governor's telling the presidents of all colleges, that it's going to be a tough year next year. I have not seen the consensus figures for revenue, and I do not have knowledge of the governor's proposed budget.
So what level of state funding would you like to see for higher education?
Dollar-wise?
Sure. Or
I don't have a figure on that.
Okay.
I don't have a figure for dollars, dollar for dollar. So it is we're in a process of trying to be fair to every sector that gets help from the state right now. And I think that's our main goal in this coming year, is to be fair and to support those educational institutions, as well as take care of those folks who cannot take care of themselves.
So you talked about bringing jobs and keeping jobs available in our region. More specifically, how would you look at encouraging economic growth in Missouri and specifically in mid-Missouri?
Well, for the business sector, tax credits have been a very effective tool. And I know that I'm very supportive of a data center that might come to this region. I've been very supportive of being energy independent. And that may sound a little different, but if we keep our dollars here in the United States for our energy, that's going to create wealth for the people in this region. And there's only a few ways that you create wealth in a state and a nation. You either have to mine it, you have to grow it, or you have to produce it with your labor. And I think that those are the real key factors to economic growth and development in our state.
Could you talk a little bit more about how you see the role of tax credits aiding economic growth, and more specifically, why you do support them?
I've been very supportive of tax credits. They actually give a company a reason to come to our state, and it is a help in the beginning for them to arrive and to hire people. I think that we need to look at if we give out tax credits to a company, that they need to make a firm commitment that they're going to stay in our state and they're not going to leave. Now, I don't think we can put an indefinite time frame on that, but I think we need to have them sign something that if we're going to help you, we expect you to stay here and create economic enterprise in our state for quite some time.
So as federal stimulus dollars start to go away and as we look at the coming fiscal year and creating budgets for the state, how do you think the state and the legislature should work to approach future budgets? Are cuts, of course, inevitable, or how do you see cuts playing a role, and what would you be least likely to want to cut if it comes to that?
I think that if we rely on the federal government, as things have happened in the last year or two, we're going to be sadly disappointed in the future. And as far as individual cuts, I think that we're going to have to make across-the-board cuts on a level playing field. And I have asked to be on the full budget, so I think that in the time frame in serving the state of Missouri, I think that'll be an important position for the university to support them and to support the other folks in our state that have been accustomed to our services. So
do you see that cuts, you're talking about doing it in the most level way possible, but...
Well, you know, I'm not in the mode to pick on people right now, and I know that people are hurting. And I know that both sides of the equation are hurting. Those who are working and trying to raise their families, as well as those people who actually are depending on services from the state right now. So yes, I think that our best approach right now is across the board, and not to be picking on any individual sector in our state.
Would you consider anything like a tobacco tax or taxes that are sometimes called sin taxes on, products like tobacco or alcohol or candy or soda, those kinds of things?
Well, personally, I'm not for any tax increases at the moment. If it comes to the vote in the legislature, I would vote to send that to the people so they can make that decision. I've done my own little personal poll in doing door-to-door and talking to people, and people are very adamant against any tax increases at this time. I think I think part of that's caused by what's been going on with the federal government. You mentioned stimulus money before. Stimulus money really hasn't been used to create infrastructure. If it's been a stabilizing effect, they've spent millions of dollars and really haven't created any jobs. So I think that we're going to owe that money. I'm going to owe that money. You're going to owe that money. Our kids are going to owe that money that they borrowed to try to stimulate the economy when it really hasn't worked. So, but I do believe in the people of the state of Missouri, and I do believe that we're a great state and that we have opportunity for growth here because of our location. That's one of the great things about the data center. We have a great location. Our utility costs are very inexpensive. So I think we have some drawing cards to bring some businesses to this central region of our state.